Good day on this fine mid-December day, and based on what I'm seeing in the weather, we all seem to be having a mostly mild weather in terms of cold December. My name is Michael Meyer. I'll be moderating this call for the lighting and electrical team webinar. We'll start by a slow start. Oh wow, we do have 34 participants already. So we'll wait probably one more minute before we officially start. Just to give everyone that grace period from running from their previous call or getting a drink of water or possibly using the restroom. So if you are attending this, you are hopefully aware that this is the lighting electrical team meeting for the Department of Energy's Better Buildings team. We will be operating in a muted fashion. If you have a question, there is a button down on the bottom. If you bring your mouse down there called the Q&A, that is where you can click in there and you can post a question. We highly encourage that at any time during the presentation and meeting. Because of the sheer size of the number of participants, we will not be opening the microphones just because there's too many issues with that if we do that. So please, I encourage you to use the Q&A function if you have some questions. Along those lines, if you, so I said the questions, the Q&A. If you have any issues, you can also raise those there. We will be pausing to address questions between the different sections, and at the end of the meeting, I will be reading your questions as they come in case there's any discussion points. We appreciate you attending, and it became really popular, so that's why we had to mute the microphones for this call. So now it's 12:03. I used that housekeeping time to kind of slow down and pause the conversation. We'll go into our next slide for a second. So, as I've mentioned, my name is Michael Meyer. I'm shown on the far left. I will be the moderator for today's presentation and meeting. It's really more of a meeting, less than a presentation. We will be starting with some overview of two different programs, but really we're here to find out information, also share some information, but we'd like to learn what you need as either a building owner, a building operator, maybe a manufacturer or a program, or maybe a designer. We would very much be interested in kind of how we can help get better lighting solutions out there. Also, we do offer other programs as well, but today's focus is going to be there. We'll first present, my first presenter will be my colleague Felipe Leon, who will be presenting on what's known as the Integrated Lighting Campaign. And again, we'll pause and take some questions after that. And then the second presentation today will be my other colleague who's shown on the far right, Gabe Arnold, and he'll be discussing a program called the L Prize, and then also this new thing that we're trying to kick off, such as connected lighting and educational resources. Each of us have been with the lab for a various number of times, and we will be we all have some varying levels of experience coming from industry, from utilities, and from manufacturing and design. So it'll be an interesting portion, a discussion. We will also have one speaker who is available to present, who participated in the Integrated Lighting Campaign, and he'll be sharing some of his experience. And his name is Jay, and he's with the University of Minnesota, and that'll be happening a little bit as well. So I have now addressed those type of things. I see a number of people, again, rolling in on the participant list, and we are capturing that information for some follow-up. If you are interested, and I'll say it now and I'll say it again later, we do share this type of information through different means. The Integrated Lighting Campaign, that's the entire URL. It's integratedlightingcampaign.org. You can go there and, I'm sorry, .gov, I said that backwards. You can go there and sign up for the webinar, for resources where we have a mailing list, and you can find out additional types of these events as well as resources. So we're going to mention that a couple of times throughout the presentation, just as a way to stay informed about these topics. Next slide, please. So here's the agenda, as I briefly touched on a second ago, while I was queuing up all of our moderators. You can kind of see the rough timelines there. Next slide, please. So this time, I'm going to briefly introduce my colleague, Felipe Leon. He is an electrical engineer. He is also a former Navy sailor, shouldn't say Navy person, former sailor. And he has been with the lab for about 7 years. And he previously worked for manufacturers in upstate New York, both Kodak and then an OLEDs manufacturer. He works on both this project as well as a project for our emerging technology program related to Flickr. And then he does some non-energy efficiency work for another program at the Department of Energy and the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. At this time, Felipe will present on the integrated lighting campaign.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate the opportunity to present on the integrated lighting campaign, and some of those building owners that have joined some of the previous L&E calls may have heard a little bit about it, but we're past our first year and we're very excited. We've got some projects to share with you, and we certainly look forward to hearing a lot more about new projects that are being taken on. But let me give you a little bit of background about the Integrated Lighting Campaign. It's a collaboration between the Xylights Consortium, Illuminating Engineering Society, International Facility Management Association, the International Association of Lighting Management Companies, that's NALMCO, Lighting Controls Association, U.S. General Services Administration, and the U.S. Department of Energy. So you probably heard an organization that you're familiar with. It's because there's a lot of interest in what's going on here. And what are we focused on? We're focused on integration of lighting. We're focused on more advanced uses of lighting, advanced sensors and controls, things like asset tracking and space utilization, HVAC and plug load. That has an energy story still. And then you have Internet of Things, and all these advanced lighting systems are creating an opportunity here to communicate with other building systems and enhance building performance. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The goal of the campaign here on the right is to provide relevant resources that inform your projects. We do that to promote the use of innovative lighting sensors, to encourage that integration with other building systems. And we want to document and recognize those innovative integration projects that are leading the way so that others can learn about it and learn how they can apply those lessons to their buildings. Down at the bottom, you'll see our website, integratedlightingcampaign.energy.gov. Please feel free to go to that and check it out. One, you can join. It's free and easy. So hopefully we'll see some of you on the campaign going forward. But also there's some resources there that might be available to you, including a case study that we recently published. So feel free to check out our 2021 recognition, which will cover several of the projects that we have here. And there's links to presentations and other resources that might be of interest. And I'll share my information. If you have any questions about the campaign, resources, technical assistance, please reach out to me. Next slide. So again, these are our organizing partners. So we are happy to have them support the campaign and also provide guidance as well as helping our outreach efforts. Next slide. So in 2021, what did we do? We had recognition categories, and these are the ones for participants. I'll focus on those today because that's our main focus for these L&E webinars. The advanced use of sensors and controls for lighting. That one is looking at opportunities in lighting that extend beyond just your typical day-to-day dimming and occupancy approaches. Integrated controls for plug load lighting, plug loads and lighting systems, integrated controls for HVAC and lighting systems. Again, those two are very energy focused. The sensors in lighting can help inform those systems to lead to additional energy savings and controls. And then lastly, we understand that there are other opportunities beyond lighting that can be enabled when you use that sensor data, when you incorporate new types of sensors or communication beacons into your lighting. So other integrated systems and lighting aim to capture those projects that go way beyond the lighting system and way beyond even energy systems within your building. And that can lead to operational savings and other opportunities in your building to be more efficient. Next slide. So in 2021, we received several, many projects, and we recognized 13 organizations for their exemplary projects. You can see their logos here on the left. But as a summary here, some of the examples of exemplary performance were across 7 building sectors. We had advanced sensors and controls, where we had 4 recognitions in that area. Integration with HVAC, we had 6, and then we had integration with plug loads, which had 2. In terms of other integrations, we recognized 3 participants. So we had several projects, and we're excited about getting some of these case studies out and published on our website. We also had outdoor projects. I want to emphasize here that the integrated lighting campaign is open to both indoor and outdoor projects. We understand that you might be using advanced sensing controls in outdoor projects just as well, or integrating with other systems such as communication devices. Next, so congratulations to our participants. Next slide. So I'll go over some of these projects, and the idea here is to give you a taste for what some of these projects did. I won't go into the details. On our website, we had a recognition webinar, which goes into a little bit more detail for each one of these. But what I've done here is I presented a couple of slides that give you the taste for example, you'll see on the upper right, there's an icon. That one deals with the advanced sensors and controls. So that's what I'll be doing here. It's just presenting these, showing you some of the benefits of these buildings. And hopefully in your questions, what you'll submit to us is information, when you submit questions to us, please feel free to ask a question about some of these or to share some of your own experiences so that we can talk about that at the end of the webinar. So Bryan Medical Center here is a 3 million square foot, has a 3 million square foot building portfolio across 2 campuses. And they did some retrofits that empowered office workers to set their own light levels in their workspace. They also, through the advances and controls, were able to reduce lighting-related costs to a help desk. The main achievement here was a 57% energy savings through their renovation. California State University Dominguez Hills is a multi-use facility in Carson, California. They implemented luminaire level sensors with occupancy, photo sensing, temperature sensing, and energy logging, and also Bluetooth capabilities for the future. What they were able to do here is to set their, through communications with tenants, set their average luminance set point to about 40% of the full light output of the luminaire that they installed. And that also led to a 34% energy savings. I'm going to say here that 34% energy savings is primarily looking at the control savings. Next slide. Here, the replacement of 1,732 existing lights in Wilmington, Delaware by the city of Wilmington included photo controls, wireless control nodes, light level programming, and streamlined maintenance. They netted a 69% energy savings. So congratulations to the city of Wilmington. Massport replaced 23 existing pole lights. You'll see that these are 2 outdoor facilities here. And at the County Terminal Container Yard, they replaced high pressure sodium to LED. Certainly there's some energy savings there, but I think what's exciting about this project is that co-location of Wi-Fi and security, the ability to program their light levels based on what's going on at the yard. Plus, also they have a terminal operating system which allows that operator to modify the light levels based on the needs. So significant reduction in light pollution as a result of their installation, and 55% energy savings. Next slide. And this slide covers IMEG, who has 16,000 square foot facility, a corporate office in Chicago, Illinois. They implemented several aspects into their lighting system, including tunable white lighting, luminaires with low UGR, and integrated acoustic baffles. And they have ongoing research to better understand physiological and psychological impacts of these strategies that they utilized. There's 37%, they were able to get 37% below the IECC 2018 building code. And they also, what we liked about this is when you install these systems, especially when they're more advanced systems, is that communication approach to let people know about how to use the lighting, how to use all the benefits that the lighting is now affording. So, you know, their educational approach to support cross-generational staff and how they communicated the information about the new systems is something that we were impressed with. Also, the U.S. Air Force, Westover Air Reserve Base has a 200,000 square foot facility where they retrofit several different areas, a supply warehouse, a gymnasium, and an aircraft maintenance hangar in Chicopee, Massachusetts. And they were doing occupancy, heat mapping, which allows you to understand how your spaces are being utilized. And then also lighting activity and energy use, as well as data visualization to understand how their spaces and how their energy is being used. They netted 460 kilowatt hour per year savings. Next slide. So I'll move on from some of that advanced sensors and controls. And what we have here is Denver Water, who was recognized for the HVAC integration that they had. And They were new construction, and they have a LEED Platinum building here, and they're using radiant heating and cooling. They're able to do setbacks of 3 degrees, and they're getting 2 to 4% energy savings anticipated. And this is a whole building energy savings resulting from simply the integration of the lighting system to help inform other systems. So that's exciting to see additional savings on those other building systems at the whole building level. We also have Minnesota Department of Transportation, 75,000 square foot maintenance facility in Richfield, Minnesota. That HVAC integration also does temperature setbacks, and you'll see that story again and again, that setting back of spaces that are not occupied, leading to 82% energy savings in this case. And you'll see that asterisk there. COVID did impact some of these results. It is ongoing research that is being conducted by PNNL and the Department of Energy. Next slide. We have 2 buildings in state of Vermont that were recognized, the Sampieri office building and the Costello courthouse. So thank you to the state of Vermont for submitting those projects. They were doing temperature setbacks of 2 degrees. They're also able to control their water source heat pumps, the runtime of their VAV boxes, as well as their supply fans. And all this netted an energy savings of 88,000 kilowatt hours per year. For United States Office of Personnel Management, OPM, they have an 850,000 square foot office building in Washington, D.C., where they were doing HVAC integration to do those setbacks again. They were doing 6 degrees setback temperature whenever nobody was in the space. Also, those occupancy sensor zones were mapped to 900 separate VAV boxes. So the reported benefits there was increased air handling unit efficacy, as well as an energy savings of 1 million kilowatt hours per year. Next slide. Minnesota, University of Minnesota has a 25,000 square foot office building in Minneapolis. They also did HVAC integration. We're happy to have him with us. Jay is on with us, so he'll talk a little bit more about this one here, but you can see the setback of 6 degrees, as well as a 46% energy savings. So we're looking forward to hearing his perspectives. And I have Colorado State University Dominguez Hills again here because they were recognized in 2 categories. They were recognized in the advanced controls, and you've seen them before, but this one is HVAC. So it's very brief here. You'll see that through their HVAC integration, they are getting 27% energy savings. So that's very exciting there to see that the savings there in the HVAC system resulting from that integration of lighting. Next slide. So the next category here, you'll see that our icon on the upper right has changed, is the integrated controls for plug loads and lighting systems. This one is using that information that lighting information, the sensors, to now shut off loads that are not necessary based on occupancy. So Johnson Controls has a 165,000 square foot corporate office in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We recognize them for the plug load integration, where they're using smart electrical outlets and circuit relay sensors to turn off those non-intelligent loads when they're not being used. Minnesota Department of Transportation, again, they were recognized for plug load integration. So they received two recognitions here. In this case, they were getting 71% energy savings resulting from that plug load integration. So congratulations to both of those participants. Next slide. So I've talked a lot about right now, before I jump into the last category, which I haven't covered yet. There's a poll here on your screen, and it basically is trying to understand how you, as either building owner, a facility manager, if you're an occupant and you know how your building operates and have a little bit of detail, please fill out this poll and let us know how you are actually maybe already applying some of these advanced integrations with HVAC and plug load systems. So please choose the one that applies to your building. If you know your building integrates with that HVAC system, please go ahead and select the first one. If you know it integrates with the plug loads, or if it integrates with both of them, please select those. And if it has no integration and you know that, please select that one. If you don't know, please go ahead and select the last item. So we'll give people another 30 seconds, and I'll ask I'll see a question here. Okay. And I think we can hopefully close it up and see the results. All right, we are hearing that many people feel that they have no integration, or they're aware that they have no integration. So hopefully through the presentation that you've seen here, hopefully through going to our website, you can learn more about this. Whole building energy savings, being able to save in those other energy systems for lighting, using advanced lighting systems is certainly an opportunity to net additional energy benefits. But I like to segue this to say it's not the only thing that you can benefit from when it comes to advanced lighting systems. So thank you for contributing. I'll talk about other integrations now, but thank you for submitting your answers into the poll. Next slide. So one of the goals in the campaign that we had was trying to understand those other integrations too, whether it was with the interactions with the grid, with interactions with people or spaces. How else are we using sensor information or the lighting system to inform other business systems, for example? So here's one example. We have Walgreens. They have 4 retail buildings in Georgia, Illinois. Georgia, Illinois, and Tennessee. They did a life safety pilot where they have automated reporting of luminaire conditions, which leads to a reduction in maintenance costs. There's also, to understand store operations, basket tagging pilot, which helps identify store traffic patterns, relocation of entry, and inventory management plan so that you don't interfere with the shopping experience. So that's a general retail aspect of some of the benefits that you might encounter in a building. So on the right, you'll see some of the pictures of a store, how it's traffic during the day or throughout the day, and then how it might be traffic at certain times of the day to better understand your operations. Some other integrations, for example, here in Johnson Controls, corporate office in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we're doing adjustment of the color temperature throughout the day. That can be done to, for example, match the outside conditions of lighting. Automated shades, where your lighting system integrates with your shade system to reduce glare and increase the amount of light that you're getting to the building. And then also connected faucets, flush valves, and disinfectant lighting in rooms. When they're not occupied, if you can turn on UV lighting to help disinfect that space, that's something that can be done. And then visual guidance via geofencing. So these are just some of the other applications. I'll look forward to getting some input into the Q&A chat there, maybe about how you are doing some other things or some questions about other possibilities. Next slide. So those are all the benefits, but enough of me talking about all of these projects. It's a great opportunity to have Jay Amundsen. He is, I'm sorry, nope, we're not there yet. My bad. Other integrated systems and lighting. Here you'll see we also recognize Bryan Medical Center here for their other integration. Here in this case, what we have is a medical building where you are able to now have preset scenes and a foot switch that controls the environment when you're doing x-rays. That leads to efficiencies and a better diagnostic experience for those that are doing that. Staff in the emergency department are able to control heliport lights from 6 floors down using a network switch through lighting. And also a remote control switch allows nurses to open the ambulance bay doors without leaving their station. So these are all things that are being enabled by the more advanced lighting systems. Next slide. So some of the keys to success are exemplary participants. One of the things that we asked them all to share is what are some of the best practices, some of the things that you learned as you were integrating your project, integrating your lighting with other building systems. So here you can see start small and learn, and then iterate and scale up so that you can take those lessons and apply them as you try to do, for example, a whole building. Identify ways that you can meet the user's needs in a simple and intuitive way. Get IT involved early. These systems are not communicating. Getting IT involved early can help certainly ensure success, and getting them on board early can certainly help them inform you about anything you should be aware of as you're either considering these systems or selecting a system that might be a better choice in terms of IT. Share information about the project with design and operation teams early and often, and also specify the capabilities desired and follow through on implementation. And one of the things that we heard also was when it's installed, go out and talk to your tenants, talk to people that actually live in the building and get that feedback so that you can make adjustments and tweak the systems. So these are just some of the keys to success, and we look forward to, if any of you have some additional ones to add, please go ahead and put it in the Q&A. Next slide. So we're excited. 2022 recognition categories for participants. You can see the 4 on the left are still there. We are still looking for all exemplary projects that are integrating with HVAC and plug loads, some other integrations, as well as the advanced controls. But I want to emphasize the ones on the right here. We are looking at integrated lighting and horticultural controls. Are we leading to either savings of water, additional electricity, or how are we enabling higher crop yields, for example? So we have information about that new category on our website. We also want to learn how you're financing and maintaining and operating these in a more efficient way. For example, if you had to decide between just a basic system and an advanced lighting system, what was it that made you go for that advanced lighting system? How were you able to finance it to make sure the numbers were right? And we'd love to hear about that so we can tell others how to do that. Next slide. So again, University of Minnesota was recognized for HVAC and lighting systems. We're happy to have Jay Evanson. He's the district engineering manager at University of Minnesota. And Jay is on with us. Jay, feel free to, there you go, unmute yourself and turn on your camera. And Jay, please tell us a little bit about your project so that people can get a sense for how to live with these systems and how the process was for you.
Yeah, thanks, Felipe. I had a clue I'd be first with your earlier mention to University of Minnesota. But anyway, we're excited to share with you about this project. We call it Successful. We were really mostly interested in the HVAC integration. But for us, it started with finding the right building. Jones Hall, as you can see in this photo, was built in 1901, but significantly remodeled in 2005. It had mostly fluorescent tubes and basically VAV box control for the heating and ventilation and air conditioning. And this building was really suitable because it was small enough to measure, accurately and less distraction, if you will. And it also had the majority of office spaces with probably 20% classrooms. And then it had an auditorium. And the auditorium was probably used, is probably used a couple hours a day. So it's got that in and out occupancy pretty often. Same with classrooms, a little more frequently used. And as you all probably know, offices are a wild card. I mean, some are used all day and some are not. But the HVAC integration was the important part for us. Basically, we installed Cree light fixtures, the LN fixtures, which basically has an onboard photo cell and an onboard occupancy sensors, which turn lights on and off. We do that quite a bit on campus at the University of Minnesota. And by the way, we have hundreds of buildings to manage, but we do that pretty predominantly. What we did in this project was we used that signal that the onboard occupancy sensor gave out. And what we did there is we integrated through BACnet. So we had, in one of the keys to success that Felipe was talking about is really understand and get ahead of your OIT process for getting everything on, for instance, in our case, onto the wireless network and then through BACnet. So what we did then is we took that signal for every single light fixture and we grouped them. We grouped them per space and not per fixture. And when that grouping was off, then that signal was sent to our Johnson Controls Metasys system. And then we used the BACnet point to develop an interlock between the occupancy sensor and then the occupied command for the VAV box. Now, in the future, we anticipate having less VAV boxes as we try to be more energy efficiency with our air side. But for now, we have hundreds of buildings with VAV boxes. So the beauty there is that instead of having the occupancy of a classroom, let's say, be driven on a time or a schedule. So it's, the building is open at 6 in the morning and closed at 10 o'clock at night. it allowed us to on and off turn those VAV boxes to a standby mode, which is basically occupied is one mode, unoccupied is another, and then a standby allowed us to drop our temperature a few degrees, but not too much that it couldn't recover in just a few minutes if somebody walked back into the room. So yeah, we were really happy with the success of the project. I think one of the things that everybody knows, we finished this project just ahead of the pandemic. And so getting good measurement of our success has been a little more difficult. And I think we're maybe a year away from really understanding the value, but we are reportedly showing 40-some% savings. I think right now we have a lot fewer people in the building, so we're even showing more savings, quite frankly. But we're not back to normal yet by any means, as all of you are aware. But anyway, thanks again for time. And Felipe, I'll let you go on to the next one.
Great. Thank you, Jay, for sharing those perspectives and detail. And congratulations again. Next slide. Great. So now we'd love to hear from you. I shared the categories here for recognition for 2022. If you had to think about a project that you might be undertaking, I know we have a lot of supporter types. I haven't gone over that. Please go to our website, learn about the difference between participant supporters. Supporters are utilities, manufacturers, and others that support our building owners and facility managers with products or services. But if you had a project that you know was coming up, or if you have a project that you've already done, or if you know somebody that might be wanting to submit in that area, please select one of these categories to let us know that, get a sense for what we might see in year 2 from at least the audience that we have here today. And here you can select as many as you feel you are aware of, or as many as you implemented in your building. So you can choose more than one. And I should say there are also, while you're filling that out, there are supporter recognitions that we do. For example, utilities provide incentives for many of these advanced lighting projects. So if you're a utility, please go to our website and check us out and join the campaign. Share about your incentives so that we can recognize you. There's also diversity, equity, and inclusion champion in the supporter category. We're looking for what organizations are doing out there to support those efforts. So that's a new recognition this year. We'd love to hear from you. So let's go ahead and see the results for poll 2 and see where many of you might be leaning. The advanced sensors and controls, certainly luminaire level lighting control, these network lighting controls. We're very interested in that. So please, if you do have a project already, come to the campaign. HVAC and plug loads. It looks like I saw the earlier poll. I know there were only a few of you that said you had it already. So I look forward to hearing about new projects that are going to now implement that integration. And then horticultural, great. Look forward to hearing about that, hearing how we're saving water, how we're creating better crop yields, and then lighting and other integrations. We tend to see that the energy saving seems to be the main thrust for this, but don't lose sight of those other integrations and those other opportunities. And innovative maintenance facility management. Unfortunately, we didn't see anything, but hopefully many of you are leveraging the incentives that are out there, looking at things like lighting as a service and using some of those models to help fund your projects. Thank you for participating in that one. Next slide. So I want to thank you for your time. There's our website link again. Feel free to contact us. That's our email for our website, and we will get back to you if you send us a message there. But I will now send it back over to Michael. I'd be happy to take a couple questions about the campaign or the presentation before we move on.
Yes, thank you, Felipe. I just wanted to grab you while you were still there. So handful of questions, but I'm going to be conscious of time so we can move through into the next section. The first question was, we reported numbers of energy savings. The question really is, were those total building energy, just maybe electricity, or just lighting energy?
Yes. So I did put the numbers there that we have on our presentations, and I will say that we were primarily seeking that benefit to that benefit of the integration. So what were the additional energy savings that were netted from the advanced controls? more so than just a simple conversion from, let's say, for example, fluorescent lighting to LED lighting. However, many of our participants were not able to separate everything out. So if you go to our website, look at our presentation from the webinar, that provides a little bit more information. But the key one is going to be the case studies that we published, and we'll be able to share that. So the answer being yes, is that we did collect information for several projects. Some of them we have, for example, an aggregate of the energy savings. So that could include just a conversion from fluorescent to LED. But we also were able to obtain numbers that talk about that benefit of just integrating the lighting. How much did I save in HVAC from now having the lighting system integrated? So thank you, Michael.
Great. We'll do two more of them, just conscious of time. Related to data gathered, we showed a number of energy stories, and you just kind of discussed those, but did we get any non-energy data captured from these systems?
Yes, it was a lot harder to come by those other integrations. You can see that we did recognize 3 participants for other integrations. Now, the key thing that I'll say here is that many seem to be focused on that energy savings aspect, and as are we. Of course, Department of Energy, we're very interested in those energy savings, but we recognize that through those other integrations, there are other benefits. And we think of the 330-300 rule. You know, when you think about building costs for an organization, when you think about people costs, you know, increasing efficiencies in those areas can certainly help you or tip you towards the adoption of these LED systems, of these advanced systems. So we are compiling that data. We are sharing the information that we have from those other integrations. And we know they are important in terms of helping buildings operate smarter, helping businesses operate smarter, but also it's still an ongoing process, and we are still capturing it this year. So interactions with the grid, interactions with other building systems, anything that you're doing in terms of, we saw from, for example, from Walgreens, we had that life safety pilot where you're getting information so you can do corrective actions before, you know, anybody even knows about them. So that's something that we're very interested in, is automated fault detection diagnostics.
Great. That's helpful that we got other data, and I like diagnostics as well. We'll take the rest of the questions offline. There are a couple
Great.
more. I need to keep moving along for good information for our other colleagues. So I'll move into the next slide, please. And thank you for both Felipe and Jay for presenting. So I'll be turning the next presentation over to my colleague, Gabe Arnold. He's been with the lab just now 2 years. He comes from to the lab with both utility experience and most recently from the Design Lights Consortium. And while he does work for Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, he is actually located in Vermont. So at this time, I'll turn over the presentation to Gabe for Connected Lighting System Educational Resources.
Great, thank you, Michael, and thanks, Felipe, and thanks, Jay. Hailing from Vermont here, as Michael said. So our next topic is Connected Lighting System Educational Resources. And I'm going to start by giving you a little bit of background on this topic and what we're proposing to do. And then we're looking for your input actually on which topics to address and how. So let's start with this adoption curve. And this is showing us mainly the current adoption levels of LEDs in common lighting applications. And of course, all of us out there experienced this rapid technology change with LEDs. It really only started about a decade ago, and it's just been astounding how quickly it happened. And you know, if you were in this prior to LEDs, lighting was one of the kind of slowest and maybe stagnant industries, and now it's one of the fastest changing. And it's just been a massive energy saving success. And so if you look at this chart, obviously you've got some things on here that have changed really quickly. Traffic lights are on here. That's up near the top and nearly have completed that transition to 100% adoption. We've got street and roadway lights that are on here that are now at over 50% adoption of LED. Linear fixtures you might find in places like offices and schools still have a ways to go. They're at about 25%, but this change is happening really quickly to LEDs. A lot of people are converting. It just makes a lot of sense from a lot of different perspectives. But here we are with connected lighting. And you know, sometimes people will call this network lighting controls, advanced lighting controls, luminaire level lighting controls. These are all kind of in the same class same type of product or system. And this is a technology that's been around for a while, even before LEDs came along, but it's way down this curve at about 1% adoption. Next slide, please. So that's really too bad, because this technology can save a lot of energy. And this is one estimate of savings of the technology from a recent report that was published by the Design Lights Consortium and the Northwest Energy Efficiency Alliance. And it's showing us savings of connected lighting systems across about 190 buildings. And one thing you'll see here is that the savings can vary widely from a couple of percent way over on the right to over 90% on the left. But on average, they found 49% savings. And that number, it's sometimes referred to as a control factor. It's lighting energy savings. And so it can reduce your lighting energy usage by about half. So while we recognize that LEDs are quite efficient and they're not using as much energy as they used to as a proportion of the total building load, even reducing that lighting energy use by half is still a big number. Next slide, please. And beyond the energy savings, connected lighting can provide benefits and capabilities, some that Felipe talked about. When we've got connected lighting sensors in all of our lights and data connectivity between them and with other systems, we can enable features like tracking assets in buildings. You can attach little wireless tags to devices. You can put wireless tags in badges and use that information to understand where objects are in your building and where people are in your building. And so this is being deployed right now. One of the common use cases is in hospitals, all kinds of equipment there that they've got to track. And they spend a lot of time trying to figure out where that equipment is. And so this is a solution for that issue. One of our integrated lighting campaign recognitions that Felipe just talked about is Walgreens. And they're testing this approach, putting these tags on shopping carts that are actually kind of tracked by the lighting system, and using that information to better understand how their customers are using their stores. And you can use this data for things like optimizing use of spaces. There's even COVID applications, which I hope we wouldn't need to use, but you can use this for things like contact tracing or social distancing management. And that's just a few. The point here is that there's a whole lot of value in this technology beyond just the energy. And if we can support this additional value, we can support the greater use and greater adoption of the technology. Next slide, please. The challenge we have and why the adoption has been so low is that you've got a lot of barriers to this technology adoption. Number one, the technology can be expensive. And if you're only basing the value on energy savings and not the other benefits it can provide, it doesn't always pencil out with a quick payback. That's not always the case. There are some projects that with these advanced lighting controls that do pay off quickly, but there's a number that don't. And so that's been a real issue with the adoption. The second one down here, there's been a lot of challenges with lack of standardization. There's a lot of proprietary systems that are on the market, which means each system is different in how it's installed, how it communicates, the data it uses, the data it's able to share with other systems. And this lack of standardization, it really kind of exacerbates some of the other barriers on this list. Complexity. This is a complex technology. You've got a lot of nodes of connected lighting, with every light fixture and every sensor, and you're trying to do some advanced things with it and controlling the lights and connecting to other systems. And that kind of feeds into this next barrier, which is lack of knowledge and experience. And kind of wrapping this back to the standardization issue, it's harder to educate and train the workforce on how to use this technology, how to handle the complexity of it, and really realize its potential if every system on the market is different. And so don't get me wrong here, there can be some benefits to proprietary in some areas, but there's a lot of opportunity to standardize aspects to make this technology easier for people to use and easier to educate people about it. Finally, and these last two barriers, and perhaps unfortunately, I think we've got some poor past experiences and some stigma we've got to overcome here. because there have been a lot of users, installers, or contractors have really been on the leading edge of this technology over the past decade. And sometimes that's called the bleeding edge. And they've had some problems in installing or operating this technology, and they're hesitant to use it again. So that's something we'll need to overcome. So one piece of the solution here, kind of getting the punchline, is that that I think has a role in addressing all these barriers is education. And what we're proposing to do for the Department of Energy is to develop a suite of educational resources on connected lighting. Next slide, please. So these resources would be targeted to specific knowledge gaps, barriers, or opportunities. And we're really looking to tailor them to specific audiences, and especially the building owners and managers and the practitioners, the people who are making the decisions of whether and how a connected lighting system is installed on a project. Some of you may recall the really massive DOE educational effort on LEDs from about a decade ago. And there were all kinds of materials that were developed and disseminated by DOE and lots of partners out there. There were lots of fact sheets, training, and we're aiming to replicate and do some of the same thing here with connected lighting. We think there's a real need for it. And these resources are not intended to be long technical reports that few people will read. Rather, we're aiming to make them very accessible, easy to understand and use. And we're looking for your input on which topics should be addressed, which ones are the highest priorities to address for these resources, and then what is the best format to deliver on them? Is it a fact sheet? Is it a short tutorial video? Should we focus on getting together some content that can be kind of built into some of the workforce training programs that are out there? Maybe we're working to try to build this into training programs for technical licensing, things like that. And so there's a lot of ideas here, and we're going to be reaching out over the coming months to a lot of people to get input on this, but we wanted to get this started today with a couple of poll questions. And the first one is on the topics to address, and the second is how to deliver on the resources. So next slide, and we can go ahead and launch this poll. And we're interested in, what topics do you see the greatest need to address with educational resources? Is it some resources to help you choose the right system for your project? A resource that really lays out the technology benefits in terms of energy and non-energy? Is there resources that would help you understand kind of the differences between proprietary system and maybe open systems, and how that should play into your decision-making process? Resources on integrating with other systems. I'm gonna stop reading through all of these because I think we're actually quite a bit short on time. Why don't we go ahead and close that poll and see how it turned out? So this was a ranking poll, which I have not actually used before and seen the results of. Okay, so most people chose for their number one resource, a resource on system selection. And I would not say there's any more clear winners except integrating with other systems. All right, well, it's going to take us a little bit to digest these results. So thank you so much for that input there. Why don't we go ahead and move on to the next poll? And that's a question of what's the most useful way to deliver on these resources? Is it 1 to 2 page fact sheets? Is it detailed technical reports? Is it short tutorial videos, detailed webinars, content used by others in workforce training? And again, you're ranking here, but we're just giving you 3 choices to rank. All right, why don't we close that one down? And show that real quick. And looks like a lot of interest in the 1 to 2 page fact sheets and the short tutorial videos. Great. Thank you so much for that input, and you'll be hearing more about this effort in the coming months. So why don't we go ahead and move on to the next slide. And I'm going to have to rush through this. I wasn't left with a whole lot of time for it. So our last topic is the DOE L Prize. And next slide, please. And so this is a new Department of Energy competition we are really excited about. I imagine some of you were in this space about 10 years ago when DOE awarded the first L Prize, which was $10 million to a manufacturer that was able to develop a first of its kind, high quality LED lighting replacement for a 60-watt incandescent bulb. And Philips Lighting was the winner of that one. And look at how far we've come now with this technology. And now DOE has launched a new L Prize, and this one is targeting commercial lighting systems, not bulbs, but commercial systems. And DOE is really looking to spur some groundbreaking innovation in this space. This new prize has $12 million in awards. It has 3 phases that are stretched across 3.5 years, a concept phase, a prototype phase, and then a manufacturing and installation phase. The concept phase actually just closed. We're right now, as we speak, evaluating those entries. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you to participate in this prize, not just for the competitors, the people that are entering, but for all of you out there. So what I'd like to do is tell you more about it and let you know how you'll be able to participate. Next slide, please. So this new L Prize is again focused on LEDs like the first one, but specifically it targets, as I said, commercial systems, commercial and institutional sector applications. And it's a competition. It's not just a bulb here. This is a full lighting system, which includes the luminaire as well as the lighting control system that goes with it. Next slide. It's got 5 focus areas where we're looking to drive innovation, efficacy, quality of light, connectivity, product life cycle, and innovation and inclusion. From the efficacy perspective, we're looking for lighting that is at least 150 lumens per watt, and at the same time is going to deliver exceptional quality of light in terms of glare control, distribution, color rendering quality, and flicker. Connectivity, we're looking for innovation in connectivity and controls and the lighting systems themselves, as well as how they connect other systems. And the fourth one down here, one thing I'm really excited about is that this new competition incorporates some new aspects of sustainability under this product lifecycle area to support a circular economy. This is a topic that maybe the lighting industry is a little bit behind on relative to some other industries, and there's a lot of, I'd say, discussion and momentum around it, and really excited that it's part of this competition. And then finally, the last part here, this new L Prize incorporates some incentives for innovations that support greater diversity, equity, and inclusion in how lighting systems are designed, how they're produced, how they're deployed, or how they're installed. And this is really trying to get at how can we get these innovations and advanced technology deployed, not just into the Class A office space and those with big pocketbooks or sophisticated staff to operate the systems, but how do we really get them deployed to everybody out there? Next slide, please. You can break down these topics into subtopics where the L Prize, we've set some minimum mandatory requirements that any winner must meet, and then optional points where we're looking to really incent some new groundbreaking innovation. And I don't have time to go into these, but there's some ones of interest in here. I think I'm really looking forward to see what industry can bring forward about them. Next slide, please. So as I said, there's 3 phases. We're in the concept phase right now, and entries were due just before Thanksgiving, and we're reviewing those. And this phase is really just about concepts on paper, ideas, and the prize amounts are $20,000 each. But as you move along with this to the prototype phase and then the manufacturing and installation, the stakes increase significantly to millions of dollars and just a small handful of winners. Next slide. And then the last phase, the manufacturing and installation phase, is where we're really looking to drive not just creating these innovations, but the deployment of them into the market. The competitors don't just need to show they can make it, but they have to sell and install it to win this. There's points that they can earn for the number of US installations. And one piece that I'm proud of here is that we're actually awarding US content and assembly. The lighting industry is a global industry, and many of the components of lighting, especially the LEDs and the electronics, they are manufactured internationally. And we're definitely not going to change that with this prize. But what a lot of people don't realize is that we've got a multi-billion-dollar luminaire assembly business here in the United States. And that's something that we really want to support. And so we've got kind of a multiplier here built into the scoring of this competition based on the amount of US content of the submissions, and we actually require US assembly as part of it. Next slide. So the last part, how can you support and participate in this effort? Well, that opportunity is coming up soon. We will be issuing a request for information, or an RFI, with the launch of the next phase, which is currently scheduled for February or March of 2022. And this RFI is where you'll be able to respond to express your interest to partner and or support this L Prize. It's an RFI that will be continually open. You'll be able to sign up at any time, and it's going to lay out a few ways that you can consider participating. You'll be able to express your interest in being a host site for one of the competitors' installations. You'll be able to express your interest to partner with DOE after we've awarded the winners to evaluate or demonstrate some of the innovations. We'll be looking to work with utility partners to develop incentives for the innovations. So look for this RFI coming in March of 2022, maybe February. My money's on March, and I hope that we'll have the opportunity to talk again with you all about around that time. I think we do these calls quarterly or so. So I think that's all I've got on the L Prize. We've got a couple of minutes left. Any questions, Michael, that came in any of these topics?
Two general feedbacks about the rank choices. They were needing a little more time to properly rank, and that's one of the feedbacks. Those are the two high-level questions. I think the thing to think about, or to think we can do, is how could we share some better resources? It sounds like fact sheets and limited duration tutorials were the highest ways of sharing information.
Okay, thank you for that. I do apologize for the time constraints there.
Yes, and there's one other question that I'm reconciling, and I know you're tight on time. Sorry, I'm pulling it up right now. But I would echo your requests for, we will be having another one of these in 2022. But we are also, honestly, we as a national laboratory work for the Department of Energy, which is funded by tax money. We want to help you and your organizations get better and more efficient lighting technology, as well as other technologies, into the marketplace. If you have a need, we can help work on that. If whether or not it's a resource, we may already have generated it. If you need a novel one, and there's enough interest, such as specifically how to integrate lighting with plug loads, or maybe a short kind of flow diagram of integration with mechanical systems, we'd like to hear that. We'd like to know how we can help get resources for you. You can find all of us through at pnnl.gov. You can find us directly, or you can reach out to me. Since I'm speaking, I'll mention it. And I know Gabe has to go. The L Prize team is calling him. They have a big meeting today to evaluate. My email address is michael.meyer@pnnl.gov. And if you reach out to us, we would love to hear any of your needs. Really, we are here to help you. We have been given a direction to try to help get more efficient technologies out into the market. Really looking at that market barriers and anything we can do, maybe sample guidance or language on financing models, things that we can help. We'd love to do them for you. So please reach out, and if there's enough of a need, or we can show that this would be really critical, it's definitely something we can take over. At this point, I'm supposed to say next slide because we're coming up on the final minutes. And there are all of our email addresses, so you can reach out to any of us on any of the topics that we've presented. So that is where we are. Thank you for attending this meeting. We will be having another one in 2022, actually more than one in 2022, but we'll have one in the first calendar quarter then. And we'll be following up with any of the questions and feedback we received. Thank you for your time.